The Zarnithians reveled in their victory. Earth, once bustling with life and human ingenuity, now lay silent under their dominion. The alien commanders, clad in their shimmering exoskeletal armor, gathered in the heart of their massive flagship, orbiting the planet. They toasted to their triumph, their voices vibrating in tones incomprehensible to human ears. For centuries, they had swept across galaxies, subjugating species after species, and Earth had proven no different. Reports of their overwhelming dominance filled the air as their generals recounted the swift invasion. Human armies, despite their weapons and tactics, crumbled in days. Major cities fell without contest, and Earth's leaders surrendered, their voices cracking with fear. Humanity was predictable, primitive, and utterly incapable of resisting the superior Zarnithian war machine. The aliens basked in their hubris, declaring Earth yet another jewel in their empire. To them, the humans had no extraordinary traits. They were frail creatures bound by emotions, incapable of true progress. Their technology was laughable, their strategies amateurish, and their will easily broken. The Zarnithians had seen it all before: another planet, another species subdued. As far as they were concerned, Earth was conquered the moment their fleets entered the atmosphere. Yet, even in their arrogance, there were things they failed to notice. Earth's ecosystems were unlike any they had encountered. They dismissed the intricate balance of life and overlooked creatures they deemed insignificant. Among them were dogs, domesticated animals that roamed the ruins, scavenging and searching for their human companions. The Zarnithians paid no attention to these creatures, considering them inconsequential relics of a defeated species. Amid their celebrations, a low-ranking officer cautiously approached the alien commander, bearing news. There were reports of disruptions, small, scattered acts of defiance in rural regions. Supplies had gone missing, vehicles had been sabotaged, and patrols reported strange disturbances. The officer suggested a tactical reassessment, but the commander dismissed it with a wave. These were desperate remnants of a broken species, nothing more. As the feast continued, the commander reflected on the conquest. Humanity had fallen as expected, their cries of resistance silenced by the might of the Zarnithians. In his mind, there was no threat left to extinguish. The scattered disruptions were mere aftershocks of their victory. He allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, confident in the complete and total domination of Earth. Then, another report arrived. This time, it was more urgent. Alien patrols had encountered resistance, but it was unlike anything they had seen. The soldiers described an invisible enemy, swift, cunning, and seemingly untraceable. The Zarnithians laughed at the notion, attributing it to human desperation. The commander ordered the report filed and returned to the feast, unaware that this was the first crack in their armor. The Zarnithians' hubris blinded them to the reality that Earth, and its inhabitants, had not yet surrendered. The unseen resistance was not driven by desperation but by something far more primal, something the invaders had yet to comprehend. In the forests and rural outskirts of Earth, the remnants of humanity endured. Hidden from alien patrols, a small resistance led by Sarah, a former military strategist, worked tirelessly to fight back. They had no advanced weapons, no fleets, no chance of matching the Zarnithians' overwhelming technology. What they did have, however, was creativity and their dogs. The dogs were more than pets now, they were warriors, scouts, and companions. Sarah and her team understood the aliens' weakness. They didn't recognize Earth's fauna as a threat. Dogs became the Resistance's secret weapon, their keen senses and unrelenting loyalty making them invaluable. Trained to move silently, the dogs scouted alien patrols, detected weak points in their camps, and carried messages between the scattered human groups. The resistance began small. They used the dogs to intercept supply lines, disrupting the aliens' operations in ways that were too subtle for them to notice at first. Vehicles left unattended were suddenly inoperable, power sources were chewed through, and communication devices went missing. The Zarnithians chalked it up to malfunction or sabotage by humans, never imagining the true culprits. But Sarah knew that chaos was their greatest weapon. The dogs, intelligent and fearless, exploited every gap in the aliens' defenses. One night, a pack of dogs infiltrated an alien outpost under Sarah's command. They worked as a coordinated team, slipping past sentries and disabling key equipment. The Zarnithians were baffled to find their machinery destroyed without any sign of human interference. Sarah and her team watched from a distance, their hearts pounding as the dogs returned unharmed. The mission had been a success. As the attacks increased, the Zarnithians grew frustrated. Reports began pouring in of invisible attackers striking at random. Patrols sent to investigate found nothing but silence and scattered paw prints. Alien soldiers began to feel a sense of unease. They had conquered countless worlds, but never before had they faced something they couldn't detect or predict. Sarah, meanwhile, refined her strategies. The dogs were more than just tools, they were family. She spoke to them as comrades, trusted them with her life. Each dog had a role to play, from stealth operations to guarding the camp. The humans and dogs formed a bond stronger than fear, a partnership rooted in survival. The aliens couldn't comprehend it. To them, the dogs were just animals, incapable of complex thought or organization. But Sarah saw their intelligence, their determination. She realized the Zarnithians' downfall wasn't their underestimation of humanity, it was their inability to understand loyalty. As the resistance gained ground, the Zarnithians were forced to acknowledge the growing threat. They still didn't understand the nature of their enemy, but they knew one thing: the humans weren't as broken as they'd thought. Something primal and relentless was fighting back, and the Zarnithians had no idea how to stop it. The Zarnithians' confusion turned to frustration as the attacks intensified. Their bases, once secure and impenetrable, were now chaotic battlegrounds. The dogs moved with precision, their actions coordinated like a highly trained military unit. Alien supply depots were raided, vehicles were rendered useless, and critical systems failed without warning. The dogs struck swiftly and vanished before the Zarnithians could react, leaving behind a trail of destruction and fear. At first, the aliens tried to adapt. Patrols were increased, and advanced sensors were deployed to detect human movements. But the Zarnithians didn't realize their enemy wasn't human, and their equipment couldn't detect what they weren't programmed to recognize. The dogs exploited every blind spot, slipping through the aliens' defenses as though they were ghosts. The aliens grew paranoid, their trust in their own technology beginning to falter. The dogs' ingenuity was unmatched. They worked in packs, each with a specific role. Some acted as decoys, drawing alien attention, while others focused on sabotage. A small group of dogs infiltrated an alien facility and chewed through the cables that powered their primary defense grid. By the time the Zarnithians discovered the breach, it was too late. The humans launched a surprise raid, reclaiming vital resources and leaving the aliens scrambling to recover. For the Zarnithians, this was unlike anything they had faced before. Their enemies were invisible, their tactics unconventional. The dogs attacked without fear, driven by loyalty to their human companions. Alien soldiers began to hesitate, their confidence eroded by a foe they couldn't understand. The Zarnithians had conquered worlds with advanced weaponry and strategic precision, but here, on Earth, they were losing to an enemy that used no weapons at all. The alien commander, now desperate, ordered a full-scale investigation into these strange assaults. Recon teams were dispatched to track the resistance, but the dogs were always one step ahead. They led the aliens into traps set by the humans, using their superior knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. Alien vehicles fell into hidden pits, patrols were ambushed, and supply lines were cut off entirely. The commander's frustration grew as every attempt to counter the resistance ended in failure. The Zarnithians' fear reached its peak when reports surfaced of their own soldiers being dragged into the shadows. Patrols spoke of glowing eyes in the darkness, snarls echoing through the night, and relentless predators that seemed to hunt for sport. The aliens were no longer just fighting humans, they were being hunted by Earth's most loyal defenders. The resistance, fueled by small victories, grew bolder. Sarah and her team coordinated larger operations, using the dogs to strike at the heart of alien operations. What had begun as a nuisance had now become a full-scale counteroffensive. For the first time, the Zarnithians realized they were losing ground. Their grip on Earth was slipping, and the invincible conquerors began to fear defeat. The final confrontation between humanity and the Zarnithians unfolded with a ferocity that neither side had anticipated. The resistance, bolstered by their loyal dogs, launched a coordinated assault on the alien stronghold. The dogs, no longer merely pawns in a larger scheme, were now full-fledged warriors in this battle for Earth. They moved with terrifying precision, navigating the alien compound as if they had known it all their lives. Each step, each attack, was part of a larger, orchestrated plan that left the Zarnithians scrambling. The aliens, once so confident in their superior technology, now found themselves on the defensive. They tried to counter the dogs' unpredictability, but their sensors, their weapons, and their tactics were useless against an enemy they still couldn't fully comprehend. The dogs sabotaged the aliens' weapons systems, tore through their communications lines, and caused widespread panic in their ranks. Alien soldiers, once proud and efficient, now cowered in fear as Earth's creatures outwitted and overwhelmed them. The resistance pressed forward, Sarah at the helm, coordinating their every move. The dogs led the charge, drawing alien fire and creating openings for the humans to strike. Every attack was a dance of destruction, as the humans and dogs worked in tandem, exploiting the smallest weaknesses in the alien defense. There was no longer any hesitation. The humans fought not just for survival, but for the honor of their planet, and the dogs fought for their pack, their humans, their home. By the time the Zarnithian commanders realized the full extent of the threat, it was too late. The dogs had done what the aliens had never expected. They had shattered the aliens' sense of invulnerability. The once mighty alien fleet was in disarray. Their strategic command had crumbled, their communication systems were down, and their supply chains were cut off. The Zarnithians tried to rally, to regroup, but their forces were fractured and disorganized. In the final moments, the alien commander stood in disbelief. He had watched, helpless, as his forces were dismantled not by advanced technology, but by the primal instincts of Earth's creatures. The Zarnithians had underestimated everything about this world, the humans, their will to fight, and the bond between them and their dogs. In the face of relentless loyalty and ingenuity, the aliens were left with no option but to retreat. With Earth's skies now free of alien ships, the humans took stock of their victory. They had lost much, but they had won. Sarah stood silently for a moment, reflecting on the strange partnership that had turned the tide. The dogs had been more than tools, they had been equal partners in the struggle. Without them, the resistance would have failed. They had not only defended Earth, they had proven something the Zarnithians could never understand: the strength of loyalty, the power of a bond forged in survival. The message from Earth was clear and unmistakable. The Zarnithians, in their arrogance, had forgotten the true nature of their enemies. As one alien fleet withdrew from the planet, a broadcast intercepted by the humans warned, "Do not underestimate the humans. Their greatest weapons are not machines, but loyalty, cunning, and their beasts." The Zarnithians had learned a hard lesson. The humans had not only fought back, they had taken back their world, and in doing so, had reminded the universe that humanity, when pushed to the brink, would always find a way to survive.